Hello, everyone. Welcome back to How It All Started. I'm Maya.
And I'm Vito. Episode 3, let's go.
So, Vito, before we jump into today's topic, you said you had a funny story to tell?
Oh man, yes. Okay, so this literally happened yesterday. My dog, Chiller, he's this small hyperactive Boston Terrier. He did his business on our neighbor's lawn, like right on their grass.
Oh, no.
And my neighbor, Mr. Riverson, he comes storming out of his house like, Vito, that's my property. Your dog can't do that on my side.
Wait, he actually said that?
Yeah. And I'm standing there thinking, it's just grass. There's no fence, no line, nothing. But apparently there's this invisible border between our yards and Chiller crossed it with his poop.
Oh my gosh, did you clean it up at least?
Of course I did. I'm not a monster. But it got me thinking, how do we even know where one property ends and another begins? Like, who decided that?
You know what? That's exactly what today's episode is about. Maps and borders, because your dog poop situation, that's basically how humanity has been figuring out borders for thousands of years.
Oh, great. So my dog is contributing to human history. Mom will be so proud.
She should be. But seriously, let's talk about how all this started. So, Vito, what do you think the very first map ever made looks like?
I don't know, like a circle with some squiggly lines?
You're not too far off. The oldest known map is from ancient Babylon, around 2,500 years ago. It was carved into a clay tablet and showed the world as a flat disk surrounded by water. But here's the thing. It wasn't even accurate. They basically just drew what they knew existed.
So they just guessed the rest?
Pretty much. They had no satellites, no airplanes, nothing. They could only map what they could see or what travelers told them about. So early maps had their city in the middle, some rivers, maybe some mountains, and then just blank space or sea monsters.
Wait, actual sea monsters on the maps?
Well, drawings of them. Map makers would write, "Here be dragons," or draw scary creatures in unexplored areas. It was like their way of saying, we have no idea what's out there, so probably monsters?
That's amazing. But okay, so before countries existed, how did people even know where their land ended and someone else's began?
So, great question. So, in the really old days, like we're talking prehistoric times, people didn't have official borders. Hunter-gatherers would just roam around following animals and finding food.
So it was just everywhere belonged to everyone?
Kind of. But as people started settling down and farming, this was like 10,000 years ago, they needed to know whose land was whose. So they used natural landmarks, rivers, mountains, forests, things you could actually see.
Oh, so like everything on this side of the river is mine, everything on that side is yours.
Exactly. That's why so many borders still follow rivers today. The Danube River in Europe, the Rio Grande between the US and Mexico, rivers made perfect borders because everyone could agree where they were.
What about mountains and deserts?
Same thing. The Pyrenees Mountains separate France and Spain. The Sahara Desert was a natural barrier in Africa. These geographical features were like nature's property lines. Nobody had to draw anything. The border was just there.
Okay, that makes sense. But when did we get actual countries? Like, what was the first country?
Ooh, that's tricky because it depends on what you mean by country. Some historians say ancient Egypt was one of the first because it had a government, borders, and people who identified as Egyptian. That was like 3000 BC.
Whoa, that's 5,000 years ago.
I know, right? But the concept of countries as we know them, with official borders and governments, really developed over time. Ancient Mesopotamia had city-states. China unified under different dynasties. It was all pretty fluid.
Fluid? What do you mean?
Like, borders changed all the time based on wars, marriages between royal families, treaties. It wasn't like today where we have GPS coordinates. Borders were more like somewhere around that hill over there.
That sounds chaotic.
It was, and that's why eventually people needed to get more precise. So when do you think borders stopped being kind of here and became exact lines?
When they invented rulers?
Not quite, but close. It really happened when map making became more scientific. In the 15 and 1600s, explorers started using better tools: compasses, sextants, longitude and latitude calculations.
So they could finally draw accurate maps.
Exactly. And once you had accurate maps, you could say, the border is at this exact line. Not somewhere near the big rock, but 42 degrees north latitude, 71 degrees west longitude.
Okay, but who got to decide where these exact borders were? Like, did everyone just agree?
Oh, you sweet summer child. No, everyone did not agree.
I figured.
Usually, the people with the biggest armies got to decide. Colonial powers like Britain, France, Spain, Portugal, they carved up entire continents. They literally sit in a room in Europe and draw lines on a map of Africa or Asia, not caring at all about the people who lived there.
Wait, seriously?
Yeah, the Berlin Conference of 1884 is a perfect example. European countries met in Germany and just divided up Africa among themselves. They didn't ask a single African leader. They just drew straight lines with rulers.
Oh, that's why some borders look super straight, like someone literally used a ruler.
Yes! Look at the US-Canada border. West of the Great Lakes, it's just a straight line along the 49th parallel. Or a bunch of African borders, perfectly straight because some European dude in the 1800s just took a ruler and went swish across the map.
That's insane. So those old colonial maps, do they still affect borders today?
Absolutely. A lot of conflicts in the world today exist because of badly drawn colonial borders. Like, imagine if someone came to your neighborhood and drew a line right through the middle of it, splitting families and friends.
Oh, that's actually really sad.
It is. That's why borders matter so much. They're not just lines on maps. They affect real people's lives, where you can live, work, who you can visit.
But how do modern apps like Google Maps even know where borders are?
Ooh, great question. So Google Maps uses a combination of government data, satellite imagery, and GPS coordinates. Countries have official records of their borders, treaties, agreements, coordinates, and Google pulls from those.
But wait, what if countries disagree about where the border is?
Then Google shows different borders depending on where you are. Like if you're in India, Google Maps might show one border with China, but if you're in China, it shows a different one.
No way.
Google literally changes the map based on your location because they don't want to take sides in border disputes. They're like, we're just trying to help you find the nearest pizza place. We don't want to start an international incident.
That's actually pretty smart. But okay, here's what I don't get. If borders are just lines on maps and screens, why do they matter so much in real life?
That's honestly one of the deepest questions about human society. Borders are completely made up, right? There's no actual line in the ground between most countries, but we've all agreed that they exist and that they mean something.
Like what?
Like, borders determine what laws apply to you, what language is official, what money you use, whether you need a passport. They create national identity. People feel like they belong to a place because of borders.
So it's kind of like my neighbor's yard. There's no actual fence, but we all agree there's a border there and Chiller's not supposed to poop on it.
Yes, exactly like that. Your yard is a tiny version of international borders. And just like countries, you and Mr. Riverson probably have an invisible treaty. You both agree where the line is, even if you can't see it.
So international relations is just everyone trying not to let their dog poop on each other's lawns.
Oh my gosh, that's actually not a terrible analogy. Be respectful, follow the rules, clean up your messes.
See, Chiller is contributing to human history.
Sure, let's go with that. But seriously, maps and borders are fascinating because they show how humans organize the world. We took a planet with no lines and covered it in them. Some good, some bad, some absolutely ridiculous.
And we are still arguing about where those lines should be.
Exactly. Because even though borders are imaginary, the consequences are very, very real.
Wow. I came here to tell a story about dog poop, and now I'm thinking about geopolitics.
Wow, that's what we do here. Make you think. So what have we learned today, folks?
We learned that ancient people drew sea monsters on maps because they didn't know what else to put there.
True. We learned that rivers and mountains make great borders because they're really hard to argue about.
We learned that some guy with a ruler in the 1800s is responsible for a lot of today's problems.
Unfortunately, yes. We learned that Google Maps is trying really hard not to start World War III.
And most importantly, we learned that my dog Chiller pooping on Mr. Riverson's lawn is basically a border dispute.
I don't think that's quite what we learned, but sure.
Hey, it's my takeaway. You can't control what I learn.
Fair enough. Thanks for joining us on episode 3 of How It All Started.
If you have questions about how things work or when stuff was invented, send them our way. And if you have a good dog poop story, we'll take those too.
Please don't just send us dog poop stories.
Speak for yourself.
Bye.
Bye.